Hey there, my name is Alex and this is my review of Game of Thrones Season 4, Episode 3, Breaker of Chains. As usual, this will have spoilers from the episode and of the associated book chapters, so if you've not watched the episode and don't want to be spoiled, stop watching now. To give a quick summary concerning this episode, I liked it overall, but I also feel like it had a lot of what you might call filler, that is to say, scenes that have little or no overall importance to the plot or characters and their development. As with the last week, I'll break this down into two parts, things I did not like and things that I did. So, let's start with things about the episode that I didn't really like. I suppose the first thing that comes to mind is the interaction between Jaime and Cersei. Now, I didn't exactly dislike this scene, I just wasn't exactly sure what they were going for. Cersei is the one who makes the first move, but then she pulls back towards Joffrey's corpse. Wasn't quite sure if this was a move of grief or if she thought she could sway Jaime to her side by charming him, to persuade him to murder Tyrion. Either way, that scene goes down a little different in the books. It's far more consensual. The show makes it rather ambiguous, at least in my eyes. A lot of people are thinking that Jaime just, well, raped Cersei, and I would disagree, as they do have a complicated and quite messed up relationship. But I can certainly see why people are coming to that conclusion. To go off on a small tangent, it is my belief that Cersei only loves Jaime because he is a reflection of her, and the less like her he becomes, the less she cares for him. And of course, she envies the fact that he's male, in my opinion. But as I said, the scene wasn't really that bad, other than Jaime arguably being out of character. It just left me a little confused, and not in a good way. But there were two scenes that I just plain didn't like. First up, Arya, Sandor and the peasants. I'm not sure exactly what they were trying to convey with this scene, unless it was to show us a glimpse of the Riverlands folk, and how they've been ruined by this war. Book readers will know their plight intimately, as it takes up a rather large chunk of A Feast for Crows. I suppose there are worse ways to show this, but do we really need to see it? The show has cut out some rather important stuff, so I think it would be excusable to gloss over the fact that the peasants of the Riverland are getting, well, the worst deal out of perhaps anyone. The scene dragged on for what felt like forever, and we ended up in more or less the exact same place we started, without any new information really. I mean, now we know that Sandor isn't very nice, which we didn't know before. I generally enjoy Arya and the Hound's scenes and their interactions, but this scene gets a thumbs down. Did not like. The other scene I disliked? Well, two scenes actually, the Sam and Gilly plotline of the episode. I don't really care about their relationship, to be honest. There's no chemistry between them in my opinion. It's just a whole lot of staring and stuttering and awkward dialogue, which is rather how it's like in the books, true, but I didn't like it much in the books either, and it felt more innocent and genuine there than it does here, where it's just kinda awkward. I can't really understand Sam's logic in thinking that Molestown would be a safer place for Gilly than, say, Maester Aemon's room. I mean, his logic is to protect Gilly from the Brothers of the Night's Watch, he's taking her to a brothel or some such establishment, an establishment that Brothers of the Night's Watch are known to visit fairly often. Especially as he knows full well that Wildlings are coming from that exact same direction. Maybe this is just setting up for a dramatic rescue scene later in the series, but it just struck me as Sam being kinda dumb. And I have a few minor complaints about the Dany stuff that rounded the episode off. For starters, I knew there wasn't going to be any strong Belwurst, but it's still kinda disappointing that Dario got that scene. And new Dario still has all the charisma of a haddock, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if his little fight was meant to be funny, dramatic, or like badass, which I think is both a problem of the directors, well, and the writers, and the actor. What was I supposed to feel? That he's an amazing warrior? Or is it meant to be comedic? I have no idea. Also, a nitpicky thing. Dany, if you're going to shoot barrels at people you want to liberate, why don't you at least fill those barrels with weapons instead of chains? I mean, I get that it's all symbolic, but it was kind of a little hammy. She also neglected to mention that she's destabilizing the entire region, and that the sea of slaves behind her is eating the land bare. But that's just nitpicking. Now, as for scenes that I liked, we can start with the Tywin and Tommen scene. I feel this serves as a proper reintroduction of Tommen, who most people probably have no idea who he is, not helped by the fact that they recast him, and he's played a tiny role so far. A few people I know were surprised to learn that Joffrey had not one, but 2 siblings. Anyway, I liked this scene, but I felt it could have been trimmed down to get the point across better. How long was it? 2-3 minutes? Let's say it was 3 minutes. It could have been cut down to 2 minutes and been far more concise. They could have trimmed out 25% of that scene, I feel. The way Tywin practically mocked Cersei's dead son, whilst leading away her only remaining child in the capital, was done well, I think. And it sets up her future character arc, such as it is. Up by the wall we have the Wildlings butchering some poor folk, and a boy giving the message to the Night's Watch. Could that scene of the boy staring at Ygritte be foreshadowing something that might happen later in the series? I guess we'll find out, won't we? But that whole scene was good. The stuff at the wall. The actual raid was a bit, Hollywood dramatic, maybe. Neo-Nazi guy made me roll my eyes, and I kind of get the feeling I'm going to be rolling my eyes anytime he shows up. It's been a while, but I seem to remember that in the books the Thenns were civilized to an extent, and they only spoke the old tongue, and that they wore bronze armor, but I don't know, now they're just weird cannibal people. But the new stuff concerning Carl, or as some call him Dirk Bastardbane, sounds promising to me, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it resolves. It's actually one of the few changes I can think of that I like. A lot of the changes they make for the show are, well, nonsensical at times, to put it lightly. Finally, I enjoyed the scenes with Davos and Shireen, although I can't help but think Stannis is being further vilified in much the same manner that Tyrion is being portrayed as a selfless saint. In other words, being whitewashed to the point that he becomes increasingly unrealistic. Not to mention, extremely different from his book counterpart. There is a nice innocence in the scenes between Davos, very much an everyman, and Shireen, which is rare in Game of Thrones, and I've enjoyed practically all of their scenes, few as they are. I can only hope that they improve their handling of Stannis. I'm not sure what the writers seem to have against him, but he's one of my favourite characters in the books, and I almost feel like the writers misunderstand Stannis, and just don't get his character for some reason. He's not an evil man. On the contrary, Stannis is just and good, and constantly struggles in a grey world, for he is very much black and white when he comes to his ideology. Whereas, as we know, one of the reasons Game of Thrones is so popular is that many of the characters are very grey. The world is shades of grey, for the most part. And the TV show just rarely demonstrates that. It's like they have to make things very simple, as they're afraid people won't get it otherwise. And I can only hope that's something that will change in time. Overall, I enjoyed the episode, but if I'm ever watching it again, I'm going to be skipping the Sam and Gilly scene, as well as the Arya scene. I don't think I could sit through that a second time, but I am looking forward to next week. The ending was good, I liked it. It told you exactly what you need to know. The slave picking up the broken collar and looking at his master, well, presumably his master, before back to the collar. Or it was framed nicely. The seeds of an uprising have been planted. And what did you think? Let me know in the comments below.